Today guys, I decided to do something a bit different, and that's why I will be showing you a quick guide about how to actually obtain your tokens mostly for free, and also which are the best way you can actually spend them, because let's remember that one thing is actually obtaining the tokens, which I'm about to explain, and then we have the other side, which is which are the best cards you should spend your tokens on. And that's stuff. So let's begin with all the ways you can actually obtain tokens on Asphalt 9 as for now. And let's start with the daily task, where you can actually get 50 tokens for free each day. So it's like over 300 tokens for free each week if you play consistently. Also, you can get a lot of tokens from daily events. So I strongly recommend you, especially if you are a beginner, to have a look every day at all the special events you have in your game. Then we have also the exclusive events, like for example the Grand Prix, the special event and that stuff, where you can also actually get some extra tokens from specific steps. So I strongly recommend to check that also. You can also get tokens from the rewards, but on the multiplayer seasons. So if you play multiplayer on a daily basis, you can actually increase your chances of getting some extra tokens. So that's also quite important to keep in mind. And especially if you are a beginner, completing career seasons will actually give you some extra tokens, which is also quite important because in the long term, every single token matters. From some specific daily events, you can actually get some extra tokens if your clubmates play that specific event too. Same goes to the special events, where if many of your clubmates actually play a specific stage, you also get some extra tokens. And you can also get extra tokens from the club clash and also from the club seasons. So I think it's actually quite important to join a really active club where all the people play, so you can actually get a really nice amount of tokens, I have to say. If you are willing to spend real money on Asphalt 9, you can actually get a really good amount of tokens from specific cheap offers as the one that you are seeing on screen right now, and also from the Legends Pass, because just getting the most basic Legend Pass grants you access to over 1,000 tokens every single season. So that's also something important to keep in mind, because, well, I know that many of you guys may decide to not to spend on Asphalt 9 or in games in general, but if you decide to spend, I think that the Legend Pass is actually quite useful, not only for the benefits but also for the tokens that each pass gives to you. So it's also quite interesting in case you are trying to get some extra tokens, and also if you are willing to spend a bit of money on the game. I think that were all the ways you could actually obtain tokens from Asphalt 9, and now let's focus on the ways you can actually spend them, because this is actually even more important than obtaining token itself, because if you obtain a really high amount of tokens and then you spend them on an useless card, well, that is a big error I don't want you guys to commit. So that's why I will explain you the best cards you should focus on. If you are just a beginner on Asphalt 9, I would like to tell you that there are two main groups of cards inside of the game based on their overall performance compared to the other ones. For example, on one side we have the high acceleration, good nitro efficiency cards, like for example we have the Ferrari 599X Evo on C class. We also have the Lamborghini Countach of this year in A class, or we have the Lamborghini Sian on S class, cars that have a really good acceleration. In most of the cases, they have a really consistent nitro efficiency and great handling overall, but their main issue is that they don't have a really high top speed. And then on the other side, we have the top speed based cars, like for example, the McLaren GT on C class, the Harry Nera Husaira on C class 2. Then on A class, we have, for example, the Aston Martin Valhalla. On B class, we have the McLaren F1 LM, and then on S class we have examples like, for example, the Hennessy Venom F5 or the Koenigsegg Jesko. Cars that have a really high top speed, but maybe they don't have the very best acceleration or a really consistent nitro efficiency as the first cars I mentioned. So that's important to keep in mind in order to focus your priorities inside of this game. In most of the cases, I would recommend going for one car of each type on each class. For example, on S class, I would recommend focusing on the Jesko, which you can actually obtain kits from the Clash store, I will also recommend going for the Bugatti Chiron, which is on the middle because this car has a really good top speed overall compared to other cars around S-Class, and also has a fairly good nitro efficiency, so the Chiron is a bit in the middle because it's a really balanced car overall. Then on A-Class, I would recommend focusing a bit more into the Imola, the Pagani Imola, which I think is the best car you can go for around that rank. But I also understand that for classic season, maybe you should focus a bit more into the Banda Electric Dendrobium, which I don't know if will arrive anytime soon on a special event or something like that again, but it's a car that you should try to go for. Of course, you can actually check the stats of each car in order to check where is the car main strength. Like for example, if it's the nitro, you will realize that the nitro stat is way bigger than any other cars around that rank. And on B-Class, for example, then we have the McLaren F1 LM, which is a really consistent car that can actually fight A-Class cars. And then we have on the other side the Lamborghini Huracan Evo Spider, which actually has a really good acceleration and insane handling and a quite consistent nitro efficiency, which makes it one of the most spun cars on multiplayer, especially on classic seasons. Then on C-Class, we have the McLaren GT on one side and the Ferrari Evo on the other one, which are basically opposites. Despite the McLaren GT also has a really good acceleration, the nitro efficiency is not as good as the Ferrari, yet the top speed of the McLaren is way better than the Ferrari 599X Evo. Especially I recommend focusing into the community because sometimes the official YouTubers will show early gameplay of the upcoming cars where you can actually check if a car has really good acceleration, has better nitro efficiency or a really high top speed. So I especially recommend checking the community from time to time in order to not to miss the most important cars, because some cars, like for example the SCC Tuatara, may arrive in the future. It's a car that was released years back, but may arrive again in the future, so that's actually quite interesting to keep in mind. A few things where I will never recommend spending your tokens on is, first, on car refuels. Never try to refuel your car using tokens, because you can actually refuel that car watching ads. I know it's a bit boring, but in the long term you won't regret it, because spending tokens on a refuel most of the cases is not a great idea overall. Also, let's jump to the next thing, because on car hunts you can actually unlock a few cars just playing the same race over and over again, and the drops may be a bit better or a bit worse, but I would never recommend spending tokens on the car hunt packs in the shop rather than on ticket refills, because I can assure you that the overall amount of blueprints you will obtain spending your tokens on ticket refills for the car hunt will be way bigger than the overall amount that you could obtain spending your tokens on that car packs in the shop. So, for example, on this Pagani Zonda Barchetta car hunt, I spent 1000 tokens on ticket refills and I got over 50 blueprints, which is way more than all the blueprints that are not guaranteed you could obtain spending 750 tokens for 10 packs only in the shop. So keep that in mind, because in the future you won't regret spending your tokens, as I said, this way. And as a final advice, I would recommend you guys to save as many tokens as you can. Don't try to go for every single car, because in the long term many cars won't be useful at all, except from specific time limited events or something like that. So I recommend you guys to save as much as you can. I know that you will have to let go a few cars, but trust me, in the long term, if you want to get a really useful car, like for example the Hennessy Venom in the future, you will have to save up as many tokens as you can. For example, a really good S-Class car may require 40,000 tokens, which may sound hard, but if you are constant in the long term, you can actually achieve that amount. So I really hope you'll enjoy this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and if you would like to see more guides in the future about Asphalt 9 or Asphalt 8 or whatever you want, and I will see you really soon with much more Asphalt content. Goodbye, guys.
I am looking for the better days. Seem like they just stay away whenever I try. There's so many things that I keep in my mind. My friends keep me out and it hurts every time. With all the emotions I built up inside, oh why can't I? Will someone look for me if I disappear? No matter how much that I scream, nobody hears. But I see the light from far away, it's down the line. Maybe I should not give up without a fight, 'cause there will be a time